Good morning, these are the top stories. BC's battle against money laundering has been dealt a blow. The province's Attorney-General David Eby, seen above, said he is incredibly disappointed by the news that criminal charges were stayed in a money laundering case he called the largest in BC history. Eby said he's launching a review to figure out what went wrong in the RCMP's investigation, which focused on an organized crime group believed to be laundering large amounts of cash through BC casinos. The RCMP wouldn't disclose its reasons for agreeing to a stay of charges, but said it is conducting a full-scale review to understand its activities, which contributed to the stay. Charges are stayed if there's no reasonable prospect of a conviction. A lack of regulatory oversight in the province sparked the nickname the Vancouver model, as organized crime groups used casinos and real estate to hide drug money. Go here to read the Globe's investigation on how those connected to the fentanyl trade park their gains in Vancouver area properties. This is the Daily Morning Update newsletter. If you're reading this on the web, or it was forwarded to you from someone else, you can sign up for Morning Update and all Globe newsletters here. Raj Grewal told a party official he had accumulated more than $1 million in debt. The Liberal MP held discussions with another MP from the party last week where he acknowledged that he faced serious financial problems, a source said. That information was subsequently relayed to senior party officials, including members of the Prime Minister's office. It wasn't known to whom the money was owed, the source said. Grewal's mother said he is in treatment to deal with his issues. Sources have said Grewal, who is resigning his seat, spent millions over the past 3 years on gambling. The Conservatives and NDP are accusing him of misusing his position on the House of Commons Finance Committee by asking RCMP officials about techniques used to fight money laundering. A video of a 15-year-old refugee from Syria being choked and bullied has prompted outrage across Britain. The video posted to social media this week shows a teenager named Jamal being assaulted by an older boy who grabs him by the throat, throws him to the ground and pours water in his face while saying, "I'll drown you." Jamal's sister was also bullied so much at the same school that she tried to kill herself, a lawyer representing the family said. A video of her being shoved to the ground was posted online yesterday. The cases underscore a rise in hate crimes across Britain, with the number of recorded incidents doubling in the past 5 years to 94,098. The country has taken in more than 10,000 Syrian refugees in the past 2 years, far fewer than several other European countries. Canada and Britain are now the only Five Eyes members who haven't banned Huawei from 5G networks. New Zealand has announced it's following in the footsteps of intelligence-sharing allies Australia and the US in blocking the Chinese firm over national security concerns. New Zealand's Security Bureau said it had identified a significant security risk in allowing wireless carriers to install Huawei's 5G equipment when building the next-generation mobile networks. Though the specific risk wasn't identified, concerns have been raised that Chinese law could enable Beijing to use Huawei to hack a foreign network. The Canadian government is being pressed by US officials to follow suit in banning Huawei from 5G. Ottawa has responded by saying it is conducting a national security review to determine whether it will do so. Alberta is planning to buy rail cars early next year to move more crude under pressure to find alternatives to ship oil amid a lack of pipeline capacity. Premier Rachel Notley said her province is close to concluding a deal to purchase crude cars and locomotives, for subscribers. Alberta crude prices have fallen sharply compared with the North American benchmark, an issue Notley blamed on capacity constraints. She said buying rail cars would also be of value over the longer term as a stopgap against further pipeline days. Notley reiterated her call for Justin Trudeau to offer financial support. The federal government should be at the table on this. There's no excuse for their absence. The Federal Natural Resources Department said it was working with Alberta to explore options to address the crisis. Got a news tip that you'd like us to look into? Email us at tips@bl.ow. Need to share documents securely? Reach out via Secure Drop. In case you missed, IT activist Harry Leslie Smith passed away at the age of 95. Born in Britain in 1923, Smith moved to Canada with his family in 1953 and became famous in his 90s for writing and speaking about healthcare and the human toll of poverty. Smith lost his sister to tuberculosis at the age of 10, dumped nameless into a pauper's pit, an incident which made him a staunch supporter of public healthcare systems. Among Smith's late-in-life endeavors was a podcast he started just last year after seeing what he called a dangerous crossroads for society and democracy across the globe. Morning Markets mixed a more dovish tone from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell helped to revive risk appetite on Thursday, driving world stocks to their highest in more than 2 weeks, as European equities joined the global rally and core bond yields fell. Tokyo's Nikkei gained 0.4%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost 0.9%, and the Shanghai Composite shed 1.3%. In Europe, London's FTSE 100, Germany's DAX and the Paris CAC 40 were up by between 0.2 and 0.5% by about 6:50 a.m. ET. New York futures were down. The Canadian dollar was just above 75 US cents, and oil prices slipped below $50 a barrel. What everyone's talking about: true leaders must stop the Saudi Crown Prince's normalization tour. Only 2 months after Jamal Khashoggi's death, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, is on tour to signal to his country and the world that he isn't going away. His next stop, this week's G20 Leadership Summit in Buenos Aires. But G20 country leaders should not let MBS use his much-promoted photo opportunities and meetings with them to normalize his behavior. Domestic criticism of MBS is growing as many Saudis wonder what other missteps the 33-year-old prince might engineer that could endanger Saudi's vision for a new and reformed kingdom. Cracks within the regime are being rumored, but to hasten these fissures, the international community ought to signal to the Saudi state that there will be no return to business as usual. Besma Mamani, professor at the Balsali School of International Affairs, Legault's plan to ban religious symbols is a political winner. Every Quebec premier must understand that his top task is to protect the province's distinct culture against any threat, be it real or perceived. For Quebec Premier François Legault, a former sovereigntist, this comes naturally. Wednesday's throne speech opening the first session of the first Coalition Avenir Quebec government confirmed Legault's intention to proceed with legislation, likely in the spring, to prohibit state employees in a position of authority from wearing conspicuous religious symbols. This question has been dragging on for 10 years now. Quebecers have had enough, Legault said after the throne speech. Legault insists his proposed ban on religious symbols, which would apply to judges, police officers, crown prosecutors, prison guards and teachers, has majority support among Quebecers. And on that point, at least, he's unequivocally correct. Konrad Yakubuski, for subscribers, the story of Eric Carlson in Ottawa is proof that no good deed goes unpunished. You could not think of a civic ambassador so shoddily treated anywhere in sports. The Senators didn't just squander his talent. Plenty of teams do that. Instead, they seem to take a perverse pleasure in making him suffer for his loyalty. No matter how incendiary, these things usually peter out quickly, one homecoming, a lot of nostalgia and then on to the next. I suspect Carlson's won't because it offends our collective sensibilities. We like to hold the game up as an avatar of national identity, and in this instance it didn't show well on us. Canadian hockey pooch, the sweetest guy in the NHL. Cathal Kelly living better. A Handmaid's Tale sequel is coming. Margaret Atwood is writing a follow-up to her celebrated dystopian novel from 1985. The Testaments is scheduled to be released on September 10, 2019, for subscribers. The book will be set 15 years after the final scene in The Handmaid's Tale, a book that depicts a patriarchal society where handmaids are forcibly assigned to produce children for infertile members of the ruling class. In a statement addressed at readers, Atwood said, "Everything you've ever asked me about Gilead and its inner workings is the inspiration for this book. Well, almost everything. The other inspiration is the world we've been living in. Moment in time. The birth of George Brown, November 29, 1818. This newspaper's founding proprietor was born 200 years ago this day in a Scottish village. George Brown's reform-minded father moved the family to New York, where he established a newspaper. But young George preferred British to U.S. rule, and in 1844, he established the Globe in Toronto, which quickly became the most influential newspaper in British North America. Brown championed technological innovation, prison reform and responsible government in opposition to the Tory elites. The Reform Party and movement he effectively led eventually became the Liberal Party. Like many journalists, Brown made an indifferent politician, and during his time in Parliament, he was consistently bested by his Conservative rival, John A. Macdonald. But after years of unstable, short-lived governments, it was Brown who proposed the Great Coalition, which made Confederation possible. Macdonald, not Brown, became Prime Minister, of course, but that was all right, because Brown was always at heart a newspaperman. In a way, the paper killed him. In March, 1880, he was accidentally shot in the thigh by an irate former employee. The wound became infected and he died in May. But Brown's legacy is great. He founded what became the Globe and Mail, helped forge the Liberal Party and proposed the compromise that led to Confederation. John Ibbotson. If you'd like to receive this newsletter by email every weekday morning, go here to sign up. If you have any feedback, send us a note.